Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehakol nהיה b'dbaro.
Amen.
Amen.
L'chaim, everybody. Good tavach, Shavua Tov, a good new week. And of course, when we start our week with the Torah portion and appreciating the depth of the Torah portion, we definitely have a good week ahead of us. So l'chaim v'bracha.
It's not Rosh Chodesh?
Tonight, yes, is Rosh Chodesh. It's Rosh Chodesh Shvat. It's the 11th month, first day of that month. Actually, that day is recorded in the Torah at the end of the book of Dvarim, of Deuteronomy, that Moshe began to illuminate, elaborate upon the Torah on Rosh Chodesh Shvat. Book of Deuteronomy begins. Last 37 days of his life, and he gives a very lengthy rabbinic sermon. But today we won't speak about that lengthy sermon. We'll speak about the fact that today is Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of the month, and this mitzvah is actually found in this week's Torah portion. It'll be in the fourth reading tomorrow, second reading, of course, the first reading today. On Wednesday, it'll be the fourth reading, right before the Exodus from Egypt. God commands the Jewish people to calculate and establish the Jewish calendar, right? It's a command for generations that was commanded then for the first Rosh Chodesh, which was the month of Nisan, right, when the new moon appeared. And God told to Moshe the following. Let's look inside. Okay, that's wonderful. It's not here. Give me a moment. Okay. Here we go. So I'm going to read. And take the Chumash. See. Take the Chumash over there.
Oh.
Okay. Just give it. Okay, do Parshas Bo 12:1. Chapter 12, verse 1. And God said to Moshe and to Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this, and he points to the moon. Oops. Sorry. Oh, showing you the Rashi before showing you the verse. Sorry. God said to Moshe and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this point of the moon's renewal marks for you the beginning of the months. This month will be for you the first of the months of the year. So Nisan, no problem. There.
Thank you.
Over there. 12:1. Okay. So Rashi takes apart this and explains and he says, God showed them the moon at its point of renewal, right? It's a new moon, a new sliver of the moon, that was appearing before the fact that there was no moon that appeared at the end of the month. And he said to Moshe, when the moon renews, it will mark the beginning of the month for you. However, Torah passages cannot depart from the straightforward meaning. God was referring to the month of Nisan and saying this will be the first in the order of the months. The following month, Iyar, will be the second month, and it's even the third month. Right. So the non-simple meaning is that, God is showing him that this is the point of renewal, right? Because a new moon appears. So God gave to Moshe and Aaron the basic outline of a Jewish calendar, which is very much preserved in the oral Torah, something that we've learned in Rambam and Maimonides' teachings. Now, the Jewish High Court, they're responsible for calculating, setting, and managing the calendar. They calculate the new month, expecting when the beginning is going to be. They have to accept testimony from two witnesses who cite the new moon, and based in the court of law, they consecrate the new moon, new month rather, not the new moon, the new month, right? And of course, now that you knew that it's a new month, that it's the first day of the month of Nisan, well, guess what? 14 days later, it's going to be the eve of the holiday of Pesach. You're going to bring on that day the Paschal Lamb offering in the Holy Temple, and that night you're going to have what we call Seder night in Canada. Well, Seder night in the whole world, but that's a play off for those who are Montreal Canadiens fans. Hockey night in Canada. So it's Seder night. And of course, if there's going to be leap years, when the sabbatical year is going to be, this is all based on calculation of the calendar. Now, this mitzvah is so crucial that God gave it to Moshe even before they left Egypt. Most of the mitzvahs that were given where? Mount Sinai. We're familiar with that. Except there were a few mitzvahs that were given beforehand. This is one of them. As a matter of fact, it actually is the very first mitzvah that's given to the Jewish people. Not only is the first mitzvah that it's given to the Jewish people before Mount Sinai. Again, there were several other mitzvahs that were given, including Shabbos, by the way, before the giving of the Torah. But this is actually the very first. And not only is the very first, but as I'm sure you recall, oh, okay. Okay. As you recall, folks, oops. Come on in. Help me, I'm having a trouble over here.
What's going on?
Go ahead. Display settings. Maybe stop sharing first. Sorry, folks, give me a moment. Just having a challenge over here.
Oh, wait. Duplicate this place. And then keep changes. And we should go back. Expand and go there.
Okay. Let's see what happens here now. There we go. That's it, all right. We're good here?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Move the toolbar.
Okay. How come down here I don't have the movement here?
You would?
How come I don't have here to move it? Is this the?
That's the portion.
I know, but I don't have the arrows
The
here.
controls. Oh, just click on this tiny
This?
slideshow. Yes. Wait for it.
All right.
Just check if it moves.
Yeah. Okay.
Excellent.
All right, folks. So, if you recall, okay, that's not necessary. You have over here.
Oh,
It's
you
okay.
okay.
I have over here.
Oh.
Rabbi Yitzchak says the Torah should have begun with the passage. This point of the moon's renewal marks for you, since it is the first mitzvah the Jews were instructed. So, in other words, the very first mitzvah that God gave to the Jewish people, again, before Mount Sinai, it's so important that it should actually be the opening passage of the Torah. The only reason it doesn't end up being the first passage of the Torah is because God wanted to make certain that the nations of the world recognize that God rules the world, and he decides who gets what. And he decided that the Holy Land of Israel is something that will belong to the Jewish people. Therefore, the Torah speaks about creation, that God is creator, and therefore he'll decide who gets the Holy Land. But aside from that reason, the Torah would have started with Achodesh Ezelechem for the mitzvah of the new moon, right? Which raises an important question. What makes this mitzvah so special, so central and fundamental that it deserves to be the first? What is so foundational about this mitzvah that it's got to be the first? It is the first mitzvah given to us. And not only that, the Torah, in theory, should have started with it. And it doesn't, but in theory, it should have. Now, we understand that the calendar is important because without a calendar, you don't know when to observe the holidays. Now, remember that we're talking about the calendar, how it is biblically to be observed is through witnesses, not, what we have today, making a calendar. So we understand the importance because without that, how would we know when to observe the holidays? When would Rosh Chodesh be? Which means different offerings in the Holy Temple, different ways to celebrate, of course, holidays and so on. But the holidays are important, but they are a small amount of the mitzvahs of the 613 that there are for us to observe. So if that's the case, why is the calendar so central and fundamental? Is the question clear? Okay, excellent. So, well, let's go back to what we said something about this mitzvah. What does this mitzvah, what's the theme of this mitzvah? It's right in front of you.
Renewal.
Renewal, thank you. Exactly, it's renewal. As a matter of fact, the word chodesh, which means month, comes from the word chidush, which means new, renewal. And that's what it really is. It's not new, it's renewal because the moon is still there. It's always there. But the light of the moon that is hidden before Rosh Chodesh is renewed every single month. Oh, and that's a Jewish theme. Not only a Jewish theme, it's a Jewish mission. God created a mundane world, so we can transform it into a divine world. Therefore, we have sacred tasks and mitzvahs that we have to perform, because through doing those sacred tasks, we are bringing a renewal to the world, a mundane world that becomes now infused with divinity. And as a matter of fact, that's an old Hasidic aphorism that God created something from nothing. And we take that something and we bring it back to the divine, right? We elevate it to the divine, right?
I just have one comment, but I don't know if this is applicable
that the moon, it looks as if it's going to disappear and then it comes up again, and like kind of like the Jewish people, like I'm saying.
You just said renewal. You said renewal.
Renewal,
Right.
renewal.
Exactly. Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. Right. Exactly. All right, so that's our task, is to transform something like this cup of water into something that has godliness in it. And what's that? Well, water's kosher. And you make a bracha over it. L'chaim. Right? Which then, of course, then leads us back to the mitzvah of establishing a calendar. The Jewish lunar year, or Jewish year, a lunar year, right, is based on the fact that each month the moon shrinks, like you said, Ronit, it shrinks, it disappears, and then emerges again. Exactly, right? It's renewed, it's reborn. Exactly. And that's the whole idea over here, right? As an old world, we infuse it with a newness, right? A mundane world, we infuse it with divinity. As the Rebbe explains in a Sikha, the passage, the renewal marks for you, encapsulates the aim and the purpose of the entire Torah and its commandments. This is why it is the first commandment. The Torah and the commandments were designed for Jews to bring newness into creation. Chodesh, the Hebrew word for month, means chidush, newness. The power of renewing creation was given to you, to the Jewish people, who transformed the world into a home for God through studying Torah and observing its commandments. Beautiful, right? So therefore, the High Court has a very central role in this mitzvah to determine the start of each month, right? As we said, month in Hebrew is Chodesh. Chodesh means chidush, newness. And the moon's renewal is really the theme and the divine mission of each and every single one of us, right? Then we get a fresh start. A fresh start, new hope, a promise that we can now bring renewal into the world, bring godliness into this world through our Torah and mitzvahs. That explains why the calendar is the Torah's first mitzvah and why it was meant to open up the entire Torah, right? Instead of Bereshit, but with a Chodesh Lachem, but for other reasons, it doesn't, right? Okay. Let's look a little more deeply into this. So we're saying the Torah and the calendar have the same central theme, and that is renewal, right? That's the idea. But if we look at it a little more deeply, we're going to see that it's not just a thematic correlation, but they're really the same core idea. What does that mean? When we make the new month, right? Declaring the new month doesn't just reflect divinity, it creates divinity in this world. Let me repeat that so you get this. Very important point. Declaring the new month doesn't just reflect divinity, it creates the holiness and the divinity in this world. Okay, that's very different. Now, we can get that idea, for example, with a lulav and esrog, right? An esrog, a citron fruit, just a mundane thing. But when you use it for the mitzvah, what did you do? You made it holy. The physical object you made holy. So much so that you can't use it as a lemon to put on your fish, to make your fish a more tarty taste to it, right? Not during the holiday, at least, right? Because it's imbued with. Even after the holiday, you can't just discard it. Even the lulav, we don't discard it.
What do you do with it?
We burn it on Erev Pesach. We keep it, and Erev Pesach we burn it with the chametz.
What do you do with the esrog?
That's right. We keep it. Some people make sometimes jam out of it, or sometimes you just leave it. Whatever. The point is we don't destroy it. Why? Because it's imbued with holiness.
I didn't know that.
Okay? Is that clear? So in the same way, when we declare the new month, that itself is making time holy. Okay?
How is that different from the week? When you say Shavua Tov, that every week is a new.
We're talking about making holiness. We're not talking about saying something.
Oh, the week is not holy.
Well, you say Shavua Tov, then that made the week holy? No, didn't make it holy. When you did lulav and esrog, before you used it for a mitzvah, the lulav, right? Before you use it for a mitzvah, that esrog, you could throw it in the garbage, right?
Right.
I mean, you might be foolish to do that because you paid a lot of money for it, right? But you could because it's not imbued with holiness until you did the mitzvah with it. Now it's imbued with holiness, so much so that you can't throw it in the garbage. Simple, right? Get that?
How long does the holiness last? Is it just
forever?
No.
Holiness doesn't go away.
The holiness of the month. Is it just
No,
Chodesh, or is it
no. Just follow what we're teaching. Don't go off. Okay.
Can I ask a question about can you use, like, for instance, I plant the seeds of the esrogs that I always get. That's
Yes.
okay?
Yeah. Even if you used it for a mitzvah, now if you didn't use it for a mitzvah, it's not holy, remember.
No, I used it during.
If you've used it, and yes, because what you're doing is making more potential mitzvahs.
I thought it was a good thing. I was just checking, and
okay.
You can cook with it. You can make like marmalade. That's okay, right?
Yes.
Just checking.
Yeah. Because with that, you're gonna make a bracha over it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're gonna make a bracha over it. So there is a holiness to it. Or you're imbuing it with something, right? Okay. Good. Excellent. Okay, let's do text number 4. God sanctified the Jewish people as it is written, be holy unto me, for I am God, I am holy. As a result of our being holy.
Can you advance the slides? It's still on text 1B.
Oh.
It's not advancing.
Okay, something's wrong. This one? Screen 2, yeah? Yes. Or this one? No.
Now I see you.
Yeah, I know. This one, no?
No, screen 2. Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's good. Okay. There, you got number 4. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, God sanctified the Jewish people as it is written, be holy unto me, for I am God, I am holy. As a result of our being holy unto God, whatever we sanctify becomes sacred. Would you like to see an example? Consider the tabernacle's vessels. Moses, Moshe, sanctified the tabernacle. Who sanctified its vessels? Moshe could have come along and sanctified those too. Instead, he left it for the priests, the Kohanim, used it to receive a sacred object, and the vessels became holy. If a mundane vessel becomes holy when it is filled with something sacred, how much more so does time become holy when a holy Jew sanctify a new month? Okay, let's see. What does this mean?
That's the question.
Okay. So let's understand. Let's just follow. And then once we follow, hopefully things will come clearer. I hope. Okay. Shabbos is intrinsically holy. We don't make Shabbos, right? It's every 7 days. It's got nothing to do with the calendar. I mean, we place it on the calendar, but it has nothing to do with making a calendar. It's every 7 days.
Nothing to do with making a calendar?
Well, every 7 days, what do you need a calendar for that? No. You just need to count 7 sunsets, right? And it's got nothing to do with the moon, right? It's got to do with 7 sunrise, sunsets, right? In other words, it's got nothing to do with calendar, right? Why? Because it's inherently holy. God made it holy, right? And therefore, when it is holy because the world is uplifted and it's a different, right? That's what it is. Festivals are not like that because now we need a calendar. In other words, we have a part in creating the holiness of a holiday. Because without our engagement in making the calendar, again, I'm talking about the days of yore when it was by witnesses. I'm not talking today. Today it's not that way because we don't have because we don't have witnesses. We don't have the Holy Temple. We don't have the Sanhedrin, the high court. Fine. But I'm talking about the concept of it, the way it's in its pure form, right?
Mhm.
So all festivals are dependent on a calendar, based on the Holy Court, sanctifying the new month, right? Every single month. Now, even if there isn't a holiday in that particular month, like the month of Shvat doesn't, well, we have to be Shvat,
Mar Cheshvan.
right? Or Mar Cheshvan doesn't have, or Tevis. I mean, Tevis has a fast day, but right. Even so, you still have to know what Rosh Chodesh is, because Rosh Chodesh, you have Musaf, you have an extra offering,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a different day. It's a celebrated day. So we need to know that. Likewise, we need to know, for holidays like Pesach, right? I mean, if you sanctify the day a day before, then Pesach comes a day earlier, and you can't eat chametz. I mean, it's got lots of, right. Now, how are we able to sanctify? How are we able to sanctify a new month? Right, is because we are also inherently sanctified by God. That's what God says, right? We're sanctified by God. Therefore, that gives us a power that we can also sanctify, right? Mitzvahs, as we just said, to imbue it with holiness. The fact that I take the lulav and esrog and I use it for the first time, I imbue holiness in it. Thereafter, I have to treat it as a holy object. Clear? So we get that with a ram's horn. We get that with matzah, that we can sanctify those physical things. But now what we're saying is something more, that we sanctify time. Now that's a little more challenging.
Amazing.
That's a little more challenging. Why is it a little more challenging? Because it's abstract. I can understand taking a physical object. That's something that we've learned time and time again, that a physical object I can take, right? And I can imbue it with sanctity, lulav and esrog, a ram's horn, right? Matzah, and so on and so forth.
Tangible.
Those are tangible physical things. But time, it's a little abstract. What does that mean exactly, right?
Wow.
So what we're saying now is something a little more profound, in which we need to unpack a bit or a lot. Is that till now we said what was unique about new month? Renewal. That's a basic theme of Torah. Fine. Okay. Problem is, how much do we see of that theme that it affects the mitzvahs? We asked, right? It only affects holidays and Rosh Chodesh. But now we're saying something different. that what we're doing, physical objects, we are imbuing it with holiness, right? With sanctity. That's what we're doing with time also. We sanctify time itself. That's a much more deeper and profound idea than just renewal. Because of that, that's why it's the first mitzvah. Okay? But we need to understand this. Okay. But why still is it the first? Right? Sanctifying time? Yeah, but I also sanctify things. Right? Well, everything is about taking a world and sanctifying it. So what is it about time that's unique about it? So let's dive into the subject. This is something that is a deep one. I'll try to do my best to bring clarity to it,
Thank you.
right?
Thank you.
So, well, you're thanking me for the effort. I don't know. Hopefully the effort will bear
Well,
fruit.
for inspiring us, and teaching us. You're
Huh?
taking this time.
Oh, no,
You could have done anything with it, and you
No,
wanted
no.
to use it to teach us something important.
Right.
Absolutely.
Could have been at home.
No,
or
no, no,
somewhere
no.
else.
All right. So let's go into this. Now, the word for world in Hebrew is olam, right? Olam, world, is defined by
Helem.
defined by time and space.
Oh, kind
Oh,
of
okay.
space.
Time and space. Simple, right?
Physicist. Yeah.
You're a physicist?
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have space, then you have no place to put my cup. Right? I had no space, right?
Yes.
So before anything can exist, you need time and space that must exist. Okay, the Alter Rebbe writes, the term world applies exclusively to space and time. Space denotes east, west, north, south, up and down. Time represents past, present, and future. Pretty simple, right? Yet, both are creations of God, right? What does that mean? God precedes time, and God transcends space. We get that, right? Not like the British physicist
Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking. I once saw, I'm just briefly, I don't want to get off tangent over here. I had to watch it a few times because I'd like double take. He going back and forth on a documentary of, is there a God, not a God, and so on. So in the end, his conclusion, there's no God. You know why? Because when you go back in creation, there was a point there was no time. And if there's no time, so then God didn't have time to create a world.
No.
God precedes time. He is transcendent of space. Yeah. Okay. You exist before there was time. You were there, and before there was space, you were at rest. Okay. Good. Now, what came first, time or space? Now, on one level, there's no doubt they came concurrently. But in concept,
I think it was to get at the same time.
I said
When Hashem
concurrently.
cre-
I said
Currently means together.
together.
I
Yeah.
mean, each day that he created, day one, day two, he said
No,
there
no,
was
no, no,
day.
no. One second.
No?
Time and space. There's something concurrent about it, and yet there's one that preceded the other. How do we know what preceded what? Did space come first or time come first? So let me suggest, and this is not a proof, but this is your attitude to time and space. When you wake up in the morning and you say Maidani and you thank God, right? What's the first thing that you have?
Good morning.
You have time. You have a day in front of you. What are you thanking for? Are you thanking God for the space? No.
No.
Yeah, thanking God for the time. You've given me another day. So what precedes what? Now, that day has to be in time, I mean, space rather, obviously, right? They do come concurrently. That's we're not arguing they come, right? But what came first in your day is your day, not your space. Now, you needed space in order to be able to have a day, but the concept in our minds, if you will, would be, oh, God gave me another day. Not that he gave me he gave me a cup that I could use, and I gave me a jacket that I could wear, and he gave me things that take up space. No, first notion is time, right?
As a matter of fact, in terms of physics and astrophysics, yes, time came first.
Another way to express this, another form, before there was time as we know it, which is concurrent with space, because, to move from one point to another point is how much time, right? So they are concurrent, absolutely. But another idea before there was time as we know it, there was what we call before creation of the world, right? Physical world, because only physical world needs time and space as we know it. But there was, before the world of Asiya, there was a world of the spiritual world of Asiya, Yetzirah, Bria, those are creations, but they're not space. They're not in space, but they're, so to speak, in time, if you will. They're in levels, and level is a predecessor, what's the right word? Predecessor, thank you, to time. A higher level, lower level, not in space, but in concept, right? So another point to bring out that time comes first. And another point in that is very simple. Bereshis, in the beginning. In the beginning is what? Space? No, what's in the beginning? Time. The beginning of time. This was the beginning of time. This was the first indivisible moment of existence. There was no time before this. So Torah is telling us in the beginning means, in the beginning of time, that the first thing is time. Okay. Did a split second afterwards come space? Did it come concurrent? But in concept, time is first. Is that clear?
Very clear.
So now we can understand why this mitzvah is so central. It's because it's the first thing, it's the most fundamental thing of all, is that we bring holiness into time. Now that there's holiness into time, we'll also bring holiness into space. Right?
Holiness in space, meaning
Into,
the
things.
the
Objects
that
in
we-
space,
that
right?
make holy.
Objects in space, right? Exactly, right? This is taking up space, my cup. I made a bracha, like you made a bracha. We brought holiness into the object that is of space. We don't call, primarily, how do we look at this thing? Something that takes up space, not time. Is it in time? Of course it's in time, but that's not how you primarily view it. They're both fundamentally bound up with each other. We get that,
It is
right?
on the plane of time, but it is not time.
But it's not time, it's space. So we are physical people. This is a physical object, and therefore that is something that we understand, that we imbue the physical world of space with holiness. That's the whole purpose.
But we're part of space because we're finite.
Absolutely. And we're also part of time. But now what precedes the space is time. Time, which is more abstract, right, than an object, obviously, right? And what is foundational over here is we're saying that all of existence starts with time, all of existence, therefore, that God creates in time, our mission is to imbue it with holiness and divinity.
Mm.
Right? So God creates a physical world, right? That we need to transform. Time and space is, of course, something that is limited in time and space, right? Past, present, future, east, west, north, south, north and south, up and down. And what do we have to do? We have to transform it into something divine. Meaning, what does that mean? That the functional usage of what we're using transcends time and space. Right? That's what we're here for. Therefore, it makes sense at the sense that time must be the first made holy first, and then only the rest of creation can become holy, is why it's the first mitzvah. Why the Torah should have started with that mitzvah. We get, but think about it also. Yeah, okay, we'll get there. Okay. Fine. But we have another problem, though. You know what that problem is? That all fits in really well with the idea that we sanctify the new month, the times of the Holy Temple, right? Get that? Times the Holy Temple, we sanctify the new month, right? So that gives, we have the power to sanctify the new month, to sanctify time, right? And that gives us the power that, sanctifying time in general. We don't have that mitzvah today.
We don't.
We don't have the mitzvah today.
We don't have the holy temple.
We don't have the Holy
We
Temple,
don't have the holy temple.
right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
We
But
don't
have
we
the
don't
feast
we don't sanctify the month today. We don't actively sanctify. We say tonight's Rosh Chodesh, right? But we're not involved in creating the sanctity. Are we involved in creating the sanctity of over a cup of water by making a bracha? Yes. Are we involved in the sanctity of the lulav and esrog of creating and making it into something holy because we use it as a mitzvah object? Are we involved in the sanctity of a mezuzah or the animal hide that we make into? Of course, we're involved, right?
Well, we have extra brachas and extra.
We're not talking
extra
about brachas. We're not
davening.
talking about
Isn't
brachas.
sanctified in the moon when you, I mean, if you're
No,
down.
but we're not sanctifying it though. We're not doing the act of sanctity. So the question is, how do we sanctify today in our modern age? That's the question. We don't have that. We don't have the Holy Temple. We don't have a basin.
You don't sanctify it. If you say extra thing in
You're,
the davening.
no, we're not sanctifying it. We're connecting to its sanctity, but we're not creating that sanctity. It's almost like Rosh Chodesh becomes, like Shabbos in a certain way, right? It's in the calendar. It's not like Shabbos. Shabbos is inherently holy. It's not the same, but there is, there's something. It's just there now, Rosh Chodesh, right? We don't create it. Beis Din doesn't declare when the new month is, so they're not declaring and sanctifying it, right? So there's no engagement that we're doing it. So how do we do that today? A simple question. Yeah, does that clear the question? Tim, Angelo, yeah, Esther, everybody else, Batya, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Oh boy. Didn't realize. Okay, is a tough topic. Okay, let's take a step back. Okay. Now, we think when we're hungry and we want to eat something, you know. So when there's food there ready for me, oh, of course it's meant for me, right? But of course, Judaism teaches otherwise, that nothing was created for me for my personal sake, if you will. Everything was created for God, right? As a verse says in Pirkei Avos, everything that God created in his world, he created for his glory. So the food that I'm eating is not for my glory or my satisfaction. It's for God's glory, right? So I have any personal comfort, any personal enjoyment, ultimately its purpose, right, is to use it for God. Why? How come? Because I was created for no other purpose than to serve my master. Okay, we get that. So you might be attracted to that food, but really what's happening is your soul is attracted to it because, if it's kosher, of course, right? Because your soul wants to be able to sanctify, right? To use it out in a way to serve God. Likewise, your home, likewise, your car, you know, and everything else that we have of our world, right? The purpose is to use it to serve God. Okay, we get that. Because that's what everything was created in the first place, right? So, in other words, it's not about my personal needs. It's about what God needs from me. And what God needs from me is my blessing on a cup of water. He needs from me my engagement in, you know, in this world, to use the physical world in a way to introduce divinity into this world, right?
Right.
So take this a step further. When God created the universe, he looked in Torah and used it as a blueprint to create the world. Through the Torah, the world was created. Now this is counterintuitive. We think the Torah is just a rule book, like, you know, you get a washing machine, and with the washing machine, you get instructions on how to use it properly. If you don't use it properly, guess what? It's going to break, right? So the manufacturers suggests this is how you use it. Don't overload it. Don't too much soap in there, and so on and so forth, right? No. God looked into the Torah and created the world. In other words, the physical world that God created is in cahoots, not even cahoots, is aligned with the Torah and what the Torah wants. Torah itself establishes this. I, the Torah, is an earthling beside God. Don't read it as an earthling, read it as an architect. So the Torah is the architectural plans of creation. Right. What does that mean? That means everything has to be in accordance to Torah. That means everything that we use, right? A cup of water,
Yes.
my home, my car, the things that I have in my life, right? So some things are obvious on how they can be used for God, right? Oh, a shofar, a ram, I get it. I could use the ram's horn for a shofar. I could use the skin to make a pair of tefillin. I could use its flesh to make some meat for Shabbos. That's easy. That's direct, right?
Right.
Other things are not so obvious, like money. Okay, I got to give 10, 20% of my money to tzedakah. But beyond that, you know, that I use my money for my home or for things in my home, not obvious its direct connection in a divine way. But once you recognize, oh, that even my home, when you have guests at your Shabbos table, right? And you realize that the whole purpose of my home, the whole purpose of my table, the whole purpose of the beautiful chairs that I have is only to entertain guests on Shabbos so they can have a beautiful experience of Shabbos, then you recognize that, hey, all my things are to be used, whether directly mitzvah or indirect, a home and a beautiful home for a mitzvah. You recognize that this is its ultimate purpose, right? We get that with the things in our lives, right? That's easier. But the same is true with time, right? God created time. It only has one purpose: to serve God. And time is not just a continuum of something that, we are sort of, going from one high note of a beautiful Shabbos. We had a beautiful Shabbos over here. We were from bringing until after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was geschmack. But then comes after Shabbos and boom, a downer. Okay. Oh, tonight's Rosh Chodesh. We got an upper, right? That's naturally on how we would live our life, right? Right? Because the inherent holiness of Shabbos, the specialness of Rosh Chodesh, a holiday's coming. Or if you're Hasidic or Lubavitcher, so Yud Shvat is coming, a special day. So Hasidim, we have Yom Pagra, we have extra holidays more than anybody else, So, but the in-between times, it's almost like the placeholder of the cup. It's like just holding a place till you get to the next, okay, I can't wait to the next, like for other people, lahavdil, to make a separation, just went on vacation. I can't wait 6 months of my next vacation. That's when, from vacation to vacation, you live. God forbid, that's not Jewish. So for Jews, from Shabbos to Shabbos, they live, during the week, you got to work, you got to struggle, this and that. Holidays, beautiful, and so on and so forth. But that's making a mistake, of course, right? Torah tells us differently. That's not how to look at time.
To say you live from Shabbos to Shabbos is not the right way.
No, just follow. If you're following what I'm saying, no, it's not the right way. He made the moon for festivals, the verse says in Psalms and Tehillim. Rashi explains, for the festivals, this refers to calculating the times and the festivals. So Rashi explains that the moon's role isn't just to mark the festivals, but the entire structure of the flow of time of each month. Right? Calculating the times and the festivals, not just the festivals, the times.
Mm-hmm.
The word moyadim over here, right? Festivals. Moyed means appointed times. In other words, what we're saying over here is the lunar cycle highlights not only the major dates, but also the calculation of every day. No day is insignificant. That's the point. No day is insignificant.
Okay.
This is not just a day until I get to Shabbos. This is not just a, so how is that? How does each day serve God? So, of course, we get that by the calculation, then you're going to know when Rosh Chodesh is, and through that, you'll make the calendar, and you know when the holidays are. We get that. And as a result, you'll be able to do those mitzvahs. But in fact, the mitzvah is not just to know when Rosh Chodesh is. As Maimonides Rambam says,
Every day is a moment.
oops. It is a mitzvah to calculate, know, and determine the first day of each month of the year. So it doesn't say here, it's a mitzvah to know the first day of the month, right? And how do you do that? Through calculation. But the calculation is only a means to an end, right?
Yes.
Here it says it's a mitzvah to calculate. The calculation itself is a mitzvah. And to know of each day of the month becomes a mitzvah. Right? What does it mean to calculate? What does that mean? So Rambam says, the High Court makes calculations like those of astronomers who know the location of the stars in their paths in their orbits. They conduct careful research to determine whether or not the moon will be visible on the appropriate time, the 30th night of the month, right? Which tonight is 30th night of the month. Right? Today was 29th of Tavis, and tonight is the 30th, right? So if the moon was visible, the court would convene and await for witnesses to come, right? And based on that sighting, they would consecrate the new month. If they knew that that it was not visible, right? It was a cloudy day, cloudy night, they would convene. And they know that anybody's coming is not telling the truth because it's not possible to see the new month, right? But what's important over here is the calculation is not just to know when the new moon could be seen, right? It's right. It's an overall mitzvah to calculate the entire orbit, the full spectrum of the lunar cycle. They have to know it, all of that. So, in other words, through that, they'll know when Rosh Chodesh is. They'll know when the holidays will fall out, right? But the calculation itself, it's its own mitzvah to calculate each day. In other words, each day becomes now a vehicle of a mitzvah, meaning that each day now becomes a vehicle that can be injected with holiness. This is what the Rebbe explains. So, by calculating the lunar cycle daily, the sages transform each moment into a service of God. God's purpose in creating the months of the year is not entirely fulfilled by consecrating the first of the month in the festivals, meaning specific days of the month. It's fulfilled when we reveal that the entire spectrum of time, all of the days of the month, were created for God's sake. This is accomplished by fulfilling the mitzvah of calculating and knowing all the details of the lunar cycle, the moon's orbit, and the position of the stars to determine when the first of each month will fall. Merely establishing consecrating the first of the month and the festival dates leaves the intervening days to serve as a placeholder for the sacred festival dates, meaning we only need and calculate the entire month to know when Rosh Hashanah and the other holidays will fall. However, when we calculate the entire lunar orbit or the whole month to know when the first of the month falls, the entire month becomes part of the mitzvah. The mitzvah is not just to consecrate the first of the month. The mitzvah is to calculate to know the entire time continuum was created for a divine purpose. And they had to know everything about the orbit of the moon, not just in the first day. They had to know everything. Why is that necessary? Okay, on one level it is because that way they can, by knowing that, they know when the new moon will appear. That's true. But it's not just that, because the calculation is part of the mitzvah, and therefore each point in the calculation, meaning each day is part of the astronomy that they needed to know, right, becomes now part of the mitzvah. So it means each day is imbued with mitzvah, the time of day, where the moon is, and so on and so forth. And therefore, it becomes every day with being imbued with divinity. So this is a deeper explanation of understanding the uniqueness of time. And therefore, time is imbued all the time with divinity based on this idea. So even though in a modern age we no longer concentrate the months, can still fulfill the primary part of the mitzvah and perform the calculations for each day of the month and recognize the holiness of each day. So we learn Maimonides still. We learn the laws, right? So by learning these laws, we understand the formation of the moon, which very difficult laws, by the way, I must tell you, right? The formation of the moon on the whole cycle of the month, right? And by understanding that, what we're really doing is imbuing in that understanding a relationship to all time that it is to be imbued, not just with my understanding of the teachings, which of God's teachings, of course, Torah teachings, but through this, it's the message is telling me that every moment, every day is imbued with holiness. Therefore, it becomes the first mitzvah, even when we can't consecrate the months, right? Because calculations we can still do. The study of it we still do, right?
Yeah.
That allows us to understand the movement of the moon. And by understanding that movement, it's not just on the first day of the month. We're understanding all of its movement through the entirety of the 29, 30 days of the month that we understand. And therefore, we're imbuing time in that manner with holiness. Which is very powerful.
Absolutely.
So that's unique. I want to take now, add something over here. How do you define time?
The union between now and the past.
Right. Very like kind of,
Now,
not such a meaningful definition, right? That's not a definition. That's a measurement.
It's a measurement.
That's a measurement. It's correct what you're saying, but that's not a definition. So let me explain, and maybe this will be clear. Now we get the idea that when we use something in the physical world for a divine purpose, there's sparks of God, right, that are in this that we can elevate, right? And the physical object is elevated from klipas noiga to, to beyond klipas noiga to holiness and so on, right? Because we use it for a holy purpose. You get that idea, right? So the object is elevated, right? From klipa, from a shell that's covering over the divinity, to, right? Yeah, that point we get, right?
Right.
My hand is up there all the time. I don't know how that just automatically. Funny. Time is defined by a flow of divinity that comes in a moment.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
A flow of divinity, right?
So each moment has a flow of divinity in it.
So there's different. Excellent question. So you have a flow for an entire year, maybe even a decade, let's say. You have it for an entire year. This year, Tafshin Pei Vav, is a flow of divinity for the year, right? From the year, then it gets narrowed into the month, right? There's a cycle of the year, there's a cycle of the month.
Subflow.
Subflow.
Okay.
From the subflow, you get the week. From the week, you get the day. From the day, you get the hour. From the hour to the minute, And-
Seconds.
breath. 3.3. I said it on Shabbos, if you remember.
Yes, you did.
18 parts, right?
Yeah.
The new moon was seen in Jerusalem today at 1:30. I think it's 1:30 or something like that. I don't remember the exact time. And 6 parts. 6 parts, 6 of 18 parts. There's 18 parts to a minute because each breath is 3.3.
Right.
3.3 times 18 will give you 60 approximately, right?
Well, according to the breaths, you would think.
It's a measurement. Where'd seconds come from? It's a measurement. Who decided a measurement? Torah speaks in measurement of breath.
Mhm.
Because what does God do? He breathes into the world the breath of his life, that he gives life to this world. So every breath is a new divine flow. Every minute is another form of it, right? Every hour, every day, so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, we have 24 hours. Where does that come from? Because if you take God's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey, and each letter coupled with another letter, because every letter, 2 letters is the basic form of a word,
Mhm.
right? 2 letters come together, they become a divine flow. So 4 times 3 equals 12. 12 hours a day. If you go backwards, they have 12 hours of the night, right? Well, what does that mean? It's a divine flow, divine energy that's coming into this world. Tick. And then in that hour, by the way, that's for the hour. Let's base on an hour now, that divine flow. We learned this in Tanya, many of you have heard of it before, right? What happens at the end of the hour? So the first hour, you have Yud and a Hey. That's giving the divine energy into this world, the divine flow. It goes back up. What does it go back up with? It's time, right?
Love. Okay.
It goes back with all the mitzvahs that were done in that hour. They got all elevated in the divine energy that came drawn down. Now are now removed from this world, but they're not removed empty-handed. Just as the physical object is uplifted, so is time. The divine spark that's in this is uplifted because I made a blessing over this, used it for divine purpose, right? Time also is also elevated because that hour is now going back up with all the mitzvahs, all the good I did in that hour. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. What you talk is what goes back up.
Mhm.
Not just we talk, obviously, but that's my take on TikTok. That's mine. No, you heard it here first. I mean, you heard it here first. You might not hear it anywhere else. That's the truth. Right? Is that clear? That idea.
Oh, yes.
That's a phenomenal idea when you think about it. Okay, let's take a couple of questions over here. Isn't Torah mitzvahs for cleansing us from self-love? Hence the reason for time and space. Yeah, but this is taking like on a different, new calculation on it. Darren, a fellow Nochai told me to read Tehillim in the morning. Yes. Tehillim is for everyone. So rather than savor every moment in time. That's what we should be doing with time. What should we be doing with our time? Imbuing it with holiness. Don't savor it. If you're savoring it, you're not imbuing it.
If you have,
If you're taking, you're not giving. Either you're taking or you're giving, right? Is that clear?
Mhm.
That makes sense, no?
Yes.
if you're doing mundane tasks that you need to do,
That way you can't imbue what? Why is it a mundane task? If you're doing it for the sake of Hashem and this is what God needs you to do,
I mean,
then
you have to do.
if
it
you have to
now.
clean the dishes from
That's
Shabbos,
what
that's
you
not a
have to do.
mundane
You have
task.
to-
That's
you
not a
have to prepare
mundane
taxes.
task.
You prepare for
That's
your
part of
taxes.
serving God. You're doing it to serve God.
You're preparing your taxes, for example.
So that's a part of an obligation that you have, and that you have an obligation. God needs you to do that. Isn't the creation of space the beginning of time? No, it's the other way around. I hope I brought that out clear. It's a bit abstract, but I hope isn't space and time an illusion because yes, in a sense it's only an illusion. That's true. That's why we sanctify time and space. Exactly. Well said. Well said. Okay. Any other questions? Beautiful. Whoa, we got a lot of conversation over here online. Yeah. Folks, any questions, comments? Amazing. All right.